Hair loss. You know it sucks. So why not join the boys to bitch about it? Call in now to speak with Spencer and Spex. 0203-3724-683. This is The Bald Truth UK.
Listen, we have a call on the line. So let's take this and see who this is.
Awesome.
Hey man, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is James, and I'm calling from Galashiels in Scotland.
Hey James, welcome to the show, man. What can we do for you?
Thanks a lot. I have a few questions. I've been sort of researching, and I'm a bit confused, and I don't know how if I should tell you a bit about me, and then ask those.
Well, first of all, tell us how old you are, what's your situation, and what are you confused about?
Okay, I'm 36. I noticed that I was suffering from hair loss a few years ago, and it took me a while to get around to doing anything about it. But I have been on finasteride, Propecia, for about 12 months now, about a year.
Let me ask you this, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but there's a lot of guys, especially young guys, and to me, sadly, at this stage of my life, 36 is young, or at least it sounds young. A lot of young guys are really concerned about getting on finasteride because of the stuff that they've read over the years, and everything that's online. How did you make that decision, especially with all the, there are guys out there who I believe there's a subset of guys who are really suffering with these adverse side effects, but there's also a lot of, this perpetual kind of fear-mongering that is online. How did you decide?
I guess I just thought that, it seemed like there were, as you say, two camps. And I thought, well, I don't know which camp I'm going to lie in until I give it a go. And I've got to say that, it's been great. I've not had any side effects that I'm aware of. So, I would never have known that without trying it. I'm not really one for taking medication. I don't particularly like it, but right. I knew that I didn't want to keep losing my hair. So I thought, I've got to give it a go. If I'd given it a go in 4 months in, I was suffering from one of those things that I read about, I probably would have stopped, but I haven't, and it's been great. I've noticed that my hair has definitely thickened up, or at least the loss has slowed down, or it's stopped.
Well, that's key, to me, and that's why I'm a big believer of early intervention when it comes to hair loss, because, like I said, and I'll repeat it, I'm 50 years old now. I started losing my hair at 21, and if I didn't intervene early, I would have been in a much different position. And I wouldn't be behind this mic, first of all, if it wasn't for this drug. So in my view, finasteride completely changed my life. But I also sympathize. I had a caller that called the U.S. show on Tuesday, and he was a physician who was talking about post-finasteride syndrome. And he tried the drug. He, obviously he's a doctor, so he looked at the clinical trials, and he happened to be one of the anomalies. And he actually said that on the air, that, it is kind of an anomaly. It's a very small percentage of guys, but he just wanted to talk about his experience. So I'm glad that you haven't had any adverse side effects. And just to kind of allay your fears, I've been on it for over 20 years and have had no adverse side effects that I'm aware of. And I know that Spex, who's sitting there listening, has been on it for what? You've been on it for over a decade, right?
Yeah, I've been on it. Hi there, James. I've been on it for, must be over 15 years now, and I haven't experienced any side effects from being on the medication. I've certainly benefited. It's maintained and continues to maintain the mid to the crown region. Although the front of my hair is all hair restoration, but without the finasteride and putting it in place, the 15 years ago, I wouldn't have the head of hair that I've got today, without a shadow of a doubt. So it's interesting to hear the information that you mentioned, Spence, about the caller that you had. I haven't yet listened to the US show that you did on Tuesday night,
right.
But interested to listen to what he had to say, because I mean, people can suffer from the side effects, we know, and it's positive that you haven't, James. And obviously, did you mention you've been on the medication for 12 months or something, for a year?
Yeah, I don't know exactly when. I think it's over a year. It's like 12 to 14 months, and yeah, I've not noticed anything. So, apart from the fact that I feel like my loss has definitely slowed down, and it seems like my hair is thicker. I don't know if that's like just in my head.
No, listen, that's how it works. Basically, what it does is, for the guys that are lucky enough to have positive effects from the drug, it reverses the miniaturization process. It kind of halts things and kind of, in many cases, reverses a lot of the miniaturization that was happening in the the sides and on the crown. It does work in the hairline to some degree, even though clinically it doesn't state that it does. But there's no doubt in my life that it kind of stopped things where it was, when I started taking it. And initially, I grew back. I had a much thinner crown when I started taking the drug. I grew back all of the crown loss, and over the years, it eventually dissipated. And I've maintained a lot, obviously, but now I'm at the point where I wear Derm Match, which is like a concealer, like a makeup on the back. But I have to say, I mean, it's done its job for me for 20 years, and if it keeps working at this pace, and if I slowly progress for the next 20 years, I'll be the happiest man in the world.
And I think just to make a point there with what James said, he thinks it's working for him. I pretty much, if you feel that you gained initial benefits, or you feel that it's at least stopped the progression of hair loss, because hair loss is progressive. So it sounds like you intervened at the right time. But I interact with a lot of patients, and Spencer does as well, and we see it on the Ball-Tree Talk forums. A number of people that were taking the medication kind of didn't think that it was working,
and they
ceased taking the medication because they didn't quite know what it was doing. They thought it was working, or maybe it wasn't. And then lo and behold, they continued to lose a significant amount of hair. And the problem there is, if you then try to restart, you may not get to the position that you were again. So I think the point I'm trying to make is, James, is it may well be working very well, and better the devil you know. Don't risk the.
Well, I mean, yeah. To be honest with you, I think it is working really well. I just, I don't want to jinx it, and
yeah.
I do feel my instinct is. I mean, I don't count the hairs on my head, although I obsess over them. I would say that it really does seem to have thickened up.
Well, there's no doubt. And you said you don't want to jinx it. I don't want to jinx myself either when I said that I would be happy if it slowly progressed for the next 20 years. I would not be happy. I would be slapping. I would slap on whatever, glue on a hair yarmulke or get a hair transplant, whatever it is. I'm one of those guys who I know myself, and I'm not the type of guy who will feel comfortable balding gracefully. So that's why I do what I do. And I think you're very lucky that you're 36 years old and you intervened at a really good point.
Well, yeah, I'm really happy. It's definitely, it feels like sort of midway back to the crown, especially, has benefited. I still have concerns. It's sort of leading me on to my questions. I still have concerns about the front of my head, sort of the hairline, not sort of in the middle, but to the sides of the middle. I mean, you guys will, the sort of technical terms.
Sure. Well, you have your hairline, then you have your mid-anterior scalp, which is right behind the hairline. And a lot of people will maintain the integrity of the hairline and start to actually see loss in that mid-anterior scalp area, even though that's not on the Norwood scale. We should change that, by the way, Specs. We should have the Ball-Tree Talk scale or something.
Well, yeah.
It's a bit vague, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's my hairline that I'm most sort of concerned about. Like there's a V shape there that's fine, but it's where it's eating towards the middle.
Now, do you notice that it's progressing even though you're on finasteride?
I don't think it's regrown, put it that way. I don't know if it's that it's continuing to sort of, shed, but it's like I feel like it's not regrown as much as the mid and the crown.
Well, here, that's
has.
to Specs' point. You're seeing these results from finasteride, and they're working well on the vast majority of your scalp. And it may not be regrowing hair that you feel that you've lost in that mid-anterior scalp or in the hairline, but it's probably maintaining it to a degree where you may hold on to that for another 20 years. So you got to be thankful about that.
No, I am. I am, and I think that's absolutely true. I don't think I'm losing any more since I started taking the finasteride, but that is what initially made me start taking the drug. And whilst I'm definitely going to stay on the finasteride because I do feel like there has been really good results from it. I sort of want. I'm probably just vain, but it's a concern for me still at the front, and I feel like I have to sort of do my hair in a specific way to try and hide or disguise the loss at the front. And ultimately, and the reason why I'm on the line today is I think I want to go down the sort of hair transplant route.
Well, here's the thing, and you said something very interesting that, you feel vain, and, this isn't, in my view, it's not a vanity issue. The word vain is kind of thrown around, and the term is misused all the time. A vain person is someone who looks at themselves and believes that they are God's gift. A vain person is someone who is, whether it's through their appearance or their stature in life, whatever it is. We're concerned about losing something that we had and seeing our appearance erode. And along with that erosion of our appearance, we start to lose a little self-esteem. That's just the way hair loss is. So I wouldn't be concerned about people thinking you're vain, because you're not vain. It's a very normal reaction. Go ahead, Specs.
That's a good point. Hitting on the key word there, self-esteem. It's a real process that people need to go through, and they attribute it straight away to vanity, and they feel that they shouldn't be feeling like this, and they're wrong to feel like this. But self-esteem, nobody should have their self-esteem stripped away from them, and that's what hair loss does. It affects us in such a psychological way that is difficult to process initially, and It's something to understand and take time to understand, rather than jumping in and rushing into different treatments and surgery, essentially.
Yes.
To deal with the process of losing hair and really get the emotions under control before you, as you just mentioned, considering getting into the hair restoration process. Now, you don't strike me as somebody that is kind of desperate. You seem to have your head screwed on. What's fantastic is you've been on the finasteride, you've been on the medication, and you've halted, in your opinion, the progression of hair loss. Now, that is key if you are wanting to venture down the road of hair restoration, because it's like a builder building a wall. If he's going to build a wall to stand the test of time, he wants to put it on a strong foundation so that wall stays there for as long a period of time as possible, and safely and securely.
Yeah.
So if you're not on the medication and you go down the hair restoration route, then there are high risk of further progressive hair loss, and then further risk of further surgeries, which, Spencer and I say it, and Joe Tillman says it all the time. Surgery is a last resort.